Hey folks, and welcome to Let's Talk. This is my show where I sit down with subject matter experts and or people well-versed in a certain topic in tabletop, and we editorialize, give our opinions, and generally discuss the comings, goings, and current hot news. Now, this isn't necessarily as G-rated as the rest of GMG, so viewer and listener discretion is advised. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Let's Talk. I'm here with Spencer, the head of the biggest, I guess, U of T board game tabletop club association?
Yes.
What do you call it? I can't get your name right. What's the actual name called?
We're the University of Toronto Tabletop Gaming Club.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there an acronym for it?
UTTGC.
You can't. It would be, I guess, there's no good acronym for it.
No.
It would be like the Hogtown Gaming Club or the Hogtown Tabletop Club or something like that.
No, we're not the Hogtown 40K people.
Or there's also the Hogtown Blood Bowl League, the Hobble.
Sure.
A venerable Blood Bowl League.
Sure.
Well, Spencer's here today to talk about basically a successful gaming club. We talked about this in a earlier Let's Talk, and this was something I was really interested in because tabletop culture and club culture don't overlap a ton in North America, in my experience. It's been very successful in Europe, and I've talked a little bit in the past about why I think culturally there's groundwork there that doesn't exist here, being used to sharing spaces and all that stuff. But you've managed to make, how many members do you have now?
We just rolled over. Last year we had over 170. Right now I think we're at 78 as of yesterday.
Yep.
We're probably going to break 200 by the end of the academic year. So at the end of April, if not 250 is what we're going for. Cool.
So now my experience with U of T and gaming clubs is 20 years old. But I was at U of T 20 years ago. There was very different gaming clubs, and someone will shout at me for this in the comments if they were there. I did not have a good experience with the tabletop clubs in Toronto at that point because they were small and they were fairly insular, and I couldn't really break into them as a 19-year-old kid moving to Toronto for the first time. And so I ended up gravitating to my local Games Workshop store to find people that had the similar hobby to me. So how did you do this, man? When did you kick this club off? And give me the history.
Yeah, so if you have a club at U of T, you can book rooms for free. So my buddy Steve Jacob and I played Dungeons and Dragons, and we wanted to book rooms on campus because it was convenient. So we started a club. That was it. And then we thought, we should probably actually do something with this. So we started to. We initially were just the University of Toronto role-playing group, so UTRPG, which was a club that existed. One of those former executive actually showed up to one of our events, and then he served on our executive for a while, and now we play D&D with him every other week. Prince, shout out to Prince, he's a good guy. And before that, there were older clubs that would have been around there 20 years ago when you were attending, but they fall apart. It's sort of a big issue with U of T as a whole, and I think universities in general, as people graduate, they move on. And
yes, there's a succession planning. If there's a guy who's the nucleus for these clubs, and I used to hold that title with my group of gaming friends. I was the motivator. I was always the guy that would be like, yo, let's try this game, and then everybody would try a game. I found that in club culture very often, because it's funny, almost Facebook can almost document them coming and going, because a group gets made and you see a lot of activity in it for a while and then it just kind of collapses in the end. I assume it's really bad in a school environment, a curriculum environment, where people literally graduate and move away if there's no plan for what happens when that happens.
Yeah, so we do have plans in place. There's a position on the executive called ex officio, which we created solely for Prince initially. The idea there was that he could attend events and be involved in the planning process, but he had no commitment to show up to events or anything. Because the reality is, he's a CRA representative. That's what he does for a living. He works for the IRS, if you were in the States, the CRA in Canada. We're a very different club. We have 2 solicitors on retainer. There are no clubs like us. I'm also interested in politics myself, so we actually have, every club has a constitution, but we have other rules related to that. So I think a lot of the club success has sort of been by my own interest in politics and then realizing what doesn't work for other clubs. So we actually have a position in place for when I eventually do graduate and move on, and I will sit on the ex officio position probably in perpetuity if I'm elected every year, which I think I will be. And that's more so to make sure everything's going correctly. And then if the boat does start to go sideways, I fully intend to grab the wheel and correct it.
That's funny because that is how these legacy clubs in Ivy League schools and stuff last forever. Yeah. Right, there's this idea that you want to build something that outlives you, but you still want to kind of make sure that it keeps going, and you end up with these and a lot of them have over time ended up with sort of a more ominous reputation. But I think it's cool that there's a gaming club that's going the same way, where you have a plan for the class of 2035 to be able to to participate in this gaming group and this club and stuff too. Do you have assets? Do you have like tables, folding chairs? Like, do you have anything that's like an actual club asset that you keep?
Well, we own over 80 board games now. We're intending to purchase a whole lot more. Like, we don't have the storage space on campus, so I actually just store them on my dresser at home, and it's just covered in board games. We do have an office dedicated to us when construction on a building is finished. Although, construction in Toronto will last forever, as we chatted
If it's
about.
not a condo. So tell me about that space. How'd that come about? Like
that is a sort of a nightmare. I get along well with the University of Toronto Students Union, the UTSU. They're good people. 14 years ago, I think, they wanted to acquire a student commons, like an area for students run by students. And the issue from that was that, so I think somebody basically ran it as their election campaign, as part of their platform, and they got elected. And
they didn't know what they were going to do when that actually happened.
Well, there was no planning for it. It's a nightmare. So then they started a levy, but the problem is when you start the levy, you've created a legal agreement to then provide that building and that service. So they're essentially locked into it. So now it's like 14 years later, which means 3 sets of people have graduated and paid into the system and never got anything for that building.
Wow.
And there are other reasons. I mean, we were going to be given a different building on campus, and that got switched around, like right across from Oisey, actually on the south side of Bloor. But then they constructed an athletic center there. So like, it's been a whole thing. They've been shunted around, and now the building they're in, the architects got out of it, but they got in, and it's a structural nightmare where like the architects are giving themselves an exemption every year. Like the foundation had horrible damage. At one point they removed bricks, and they're like, well, we're just going to replace these bricks. And they're like, cool. So they start taking them down. They go, this is hollow brick, but this is a load bearing wall. Like,
oh no,
you know, what the fuck has been going on? It sort of speaks to the fact that Toronto historically had people that were cutting corners on building. I mean, that's any city, but it's entertaining. So
you've basically, so what's happened is this guy got elected 14 years ago and created a money pit promise that all the students that were excited about this that have paid into it now have basically paid to like try and limp over the finish line. It's been 14 years trying to get this shared student space done.
Yes.
So when that's done though, like, and is there a projection right now? Like, does anybody know when this thing's going to be finished?
It was supposed to be September of last year. Then it got pushed to January. Then I got pushed to June and then August. And now we're looking at, allegedly it was going to be January of 2020. But now they're pursuing, I think, litigation with the builder. So
oh, God.
I don't know. I mean, I told them they should talk to one of our 2 lawyers because he started out in real estate and now he does bankruptcy and insolvency. You know, so that might help push it along.
It might be one of those cases of, can we have some more money, please, too, where it's just gonna turn into a further money pit because you're waiting for permits, you're waiting for things to get fixed or whatever.
But when that is complete, we will have an office and everything,
and the board games can live there. All those assets can actually sit there.
Yeah,
that's great. I mean, that is a long-term play, and yes, obviously, it hasn't been ideal finishing it, but having a space for a gaming club that exists outside the members, right? It's just a spot where all that stuff is and lives. I've always found that actually creates an incentive for people to show up and try and maintain it. And I remember years ago in Toronto, because there was no space like this for us to play games in. You basically played in, and this is I'm talking about 2002, 2003. You either played in a store or you played at home, if you could. And we bandied about the idea of starting a gaming co-op. Kind of like where we're sitting right now. But my whole mandate for it is if we did decide to do it, because lots of people will say yes to an idea like that, but they won't necessarily commit to it. And I think I scared most of the people off by saying, well, we need to have a treasurer, we need to open a bank account. Like someone has to have the lease in their name. There's at least one person in this idea needs to be committed to the point where there is actual financial risk to creating and making this space. And once you get past that initial jumping off point of we're going to create a space where we can all sort of cohabitate and play games together and enjoy this as a group, there needs to be some laws. Like, you're basically creating a little community, and that community needs to have standards. It needs to have, like you said, a constitution. Mm-hmm. So what are some of the things in your constitution as you built this club that you think have made it stand out, or even just made it robust enough to survive this long?
Yeah, so when you start a club, you are given a constitution, like a boiler template one from the University of Toronto. It's the Student Life Division.
Yeah, gotcha.
And it works fine. I've made certain alterations myself. Like last year, I actually overhauled the thing, and I think I rewrote like 85% of it. A lot of it was kept. It was more so just the layout. But there were specific things like we do an annual general meeting. So that's open to everybody that's a member. You can attend. And that sort of talks about plans for the year. We talk about, where our finances are at, any outstanding debts or, assets and such, what our numbers look like overall. I do the budgets in regards with our treasurer. So we use accrual-based budgeting. So we look at the numbers from last year. We look at our projections for the current year. Or you look at the numbers for last year, you have the actuals for last year, and then you can sort of figure out, usually you would add 10%, or you try to keep it where it makes sense. And it works, Well,
the fact that you just have a budget.
Yeah.
Like, most gaming clubs wouldn't even think of that. They'd be like, so the rent on this space and the insurance costs this much a month. Everybody owes this much. But then there's no real plan for, well, what happens if our numbers drop? What happens if Steve gets laid off on camp? You know what I mean? Like, what do we do if? And there's not even any clause or provisos for, giving notice that you're leaving the club. Like, all those things that you kind of have to think about. There needs to be, it gets very Kantian very fast, where without the rule of law, things end up being nasty, brutish, and short.
Yeah. I'm very much lawful myself. I'm not going to talk about the good or evil axis. That somebody else can figure out.
That's right.
Yeah, but so we have sort of your basic things, but then we have other things on top of that. So as president, I have the authority to rise a member into a position of executive if I so wish. That's also by majority 2/3 vote from the executive members on the current council. So what we usually do is, honestly, we do it, and this is different from a lot of clubs as well, we do it like an interview process. So you have to send us a cover letter and your resume, and usually in your cover letter you explain why you're interested in the position, if it's vacant, and we have vacancies now because somebody's not coming back this year.
That's a good screen, though, because making it hard means that the people who are casually interested in something, that are going to quit it or not pay attention or not actually give it what it's like due, are just not going to try. Like, just making someone write down the reasons why they want to do something screens out the vast majority of people who might be able to be like, yeah, that'll be great, but they're not actually going to provide whatever additional quality of presence that they would bring to a club or an association, that extra bit of effort or extra bit of something. So I think that's really cool.
We do an interview process and everything as well, but we have certain clear structures in place, and there are benefits for students, obviously, because then you can have experience for interviewing yourself or conducting interviews as well.
You can sell it to the school really
easy. You
sort
of touched on it. Yeah. The overall big thing is people that don't commit. That's why a lot of clubs will fall apart or not even start up.
Yeah, everybody likes the idea of doing something until it becomes work.
Yeah,
right. But as soon as something becomes hard and work, it's funny because I can empathize with that in just what I do in general now in my career. Right, it's playing games is fun, but playing games when it's just you and you got to get everything ready yourself is a shit ton of work.
Yeah, and a lot of why I think we've also succeeded has been the fact that you sort of brought up, like, there is no rental cost because we just book rooms to the university, right? Otherwise, we'd be drowning in Toronto rentals.
Downtown Toronto? Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
You'd rent a shoebox for like $2,500 a month.
Yep. Yeah.
So now let's talk about the actual fun stuff. We talked about the nuts and bolts of running a club, and if you're interested in listening to this podcast because you want to run a club, all of what you're talking about here obviously is important, but it's going to be very different if you're outside of a school environment, because you're going to have to think about things that aren't necessarily covered by you because you don't have to lease a space or having that equipment stuff. But the intent behind all that stuff is there. And really, if I was to boil down what you just talked about why you've been successful to people listening, I'd say it's just take it seriously.
Yeah.
Write stuff down, have agreements in writing that people read and sign, right? Because having it be a little bit of work and seem a little bit serious is the reason why these clubs succeed or fail. Because the more casual people are about it, the more it really is your club is just someone's basement that people are showing up to that's costing one person a lot of money. And that I think is if you have a shaky foundation for starting this whole thing, you're basically fucked from the very beginning. Like,
I will throw shade at the Scarborough, Mississauga, University of Toronto branches who have their clubs, which apparently are basically just a group of friends playing.
Right.
When we started, going back to the fact that I'm lawful, we originally were the role-playing group, like I mentioned, and I realized there was a lot of overlap, obviously, between people who do like Magic, they do board games, they want to play miniature war games. So I thought we should just do tabletop games in general. So we did, and it worked out perfectly. We got a time where two people that ran a board game club, one was graduating, and I think he goes to Oxford, like he did computer science, and he was in
the Skull and Bones now.
Yeah, and he was in Boston for a while with work, and I think he was like in California. Now he's over in like London, or like the UK. Like he went to Oxford, or he might be going there, but he's jumped around.
Dude, succeeding and going to lots of places.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And the other his coworker, like the president, she is now working for a BIA, so a business improvement area. I think it's the A is the area, whatever. But she does that out in port credit. So like she just, they both had work, their lives had moved on, and nobody wanted to take over. So we just said, you know what, merge the clubs. It was less of a merger, more so a hostile. Yeah, I mean, I have stated that we're basically an empire. I destroyed the Innis board game club.
Right.
I would proudly say that.
Hey man, I lived in Innis. That was my college U of T.
Look, the guy who ran it, like he played in our D&D game until
Right.
like now he's in Vancouver working also
Right.
comp sci,
Yeah, and that's it's that whole idea where the motivator, the person who is that nucleus that it revolves around. It's like the visual analogy in my head for you visual people is it would be like if the sun in our solar system just suddenly disappeared,
Yeah.
and there's no more gravity holding everything together, and all the pits just fly off into space, basically.
That's basically it, yeah. And so we just merge all the clubs into one large empire. I'm a fan of Palpatine, I thought he was an okay guy.
Did nothing wrong.
Yeah, Palpatine did. If you're going to take political advice from Jar Jar Binks, like, you deserve to have that's who does the vote,
You got the Gungans on your side.
Yeah. But so we sort of merged all these clubs, and the clubs that didn't want to merge with us, we just had the numbers, and it was just attrition, and they disappeared. So now we're your one-stop shop for everything.
I'll be honest, and you make it sound a little more malevolent than it is, but most people who are involved in something, and this is again, I'm gonna boil down a thought here about club culture. People want consistency. And typically successful things are consistent things. And those people who are gravitating away from the inconsistent thing are typically just looking for something that's stable. And you tend to absorb other communities when your community is the one that seems to be thriving because people just seem to know what the fuck is going on.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's that great Onion article when Steve Jobs died. And it just said, last American who knew what the fuck he was doing dies.
Yeah.
But I always think about that when I think about the pull that people who seem competent, or even groups that seem competent, have. And Apple, it's just investors, technology, like they gravitated people towards them just with that air of confidence that he had. But a successful thing tends to pull people towards it. And so I don't think you're so much. I don't want to. It's a little less Machiavellian. You're not dominating it. It's not Pac-Man eating dots. It's more that I think you're attracting people into that club culture if it seems consistent. And people who are being seen to enjoy themselves and have fun, that word of mouth pulls people towards your group. So
yeah, I mean, it's numbers. The truth is, the reason why clubs will be successful is you have to have the numbers, because you can't have small sort of groups. So because we do everything, we do board games, card games, miniature war games, and role-playing games, you can choose to show up one week, and if you're like, I don't want to play Warhammer this week,
there's something else to do.
You can just play board games. You can just like jump into Magic. Like, we've got some spare decks, or people will lend you a deck or whatever. And that's sort of the big thing, is instead of saying, well, I'm a member of 4 different clubs, you're a member of one club, you pay one fee. And you don't have to deal with the whole.
You typically have overlapping interests. I think that's a great point too. Is that if you over specify, or even if you over commit to like one thing, you're just saying no to other people. You're kind of gatekeeping. I think that's great that your club is inclusive in that it's just we're tabletop gamers. We play things in front of ourselves. It's not so much about miniature gaming is better than card gaming, is better than board gaming or whatever. It's here's a big space with lots of tables in it. Play the game you're excited about. Because to be honest, all those games have way more in common than they do different. It's all being played. It's all a social activity where really the game is the excuse to all share a space and spend time with each other. And I've always been a big proponent of the fact that. Actually, last week you heard me talk about this with my best friend Chris, who he and I have always used games as just an excuse to see each other and spend time together. Because we were roommates basically 20 years ago when I was at U of T, and then we have lives. You've gotten married, we got kids, all those things that steal your time. So these social activities bring people together, and I can see this school being a big fan of that with you, and actually that being a big reason to support, because it's just a healthy social activity bringing people together.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk now about mental health problems at U of T. I think we're now in the top 20 universities in the entire world, which is great, obviously. But there's a lot of concerns for students that attended, and the club sort of aims to help with that. We won the Event of the Year award last year. We did an Extra Life event. We raised over $2,500 for sick kids. It was great. Or no, it was over 2,000, sorry. But it was a great event. We're doing it again this year. We're already doing some of the prep for it. So, it's a spectacular time. And I Steve, who plays my game, he's one of our 2 solicitors, that we have on retainer, which the club has 2 lawyers, that's it's a benefit to have, just overall for professionalism. But he had said, he's like, oh, man, if I thought back in the 90s when I was going to McMaster, like if I thought that some fucking nerd club won this event of the year award, like, I'd be shocked. And here we are, 2019, like we've won that award,
Because you got to think that back in the day, it would have been like the Engineers or like one of these other clubs where it's like, it's also an academic club that would have won that award. Not the guy sitting around playing D&D.
He's still, he's like around your age, he's 47. He is still shocked how many.
Around my age, that's 10 years older than me. Jesus Christ.
Oh, okay. Well, he
That's okay. It's okay. I look 47. It's fine. I understand. I visually look 47.
He's 37 at heart.
No. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. You didn't age shame me at all there.
It's fine. I mean, yeah.
To be fair, everybody who's been on this show who's older than me, so like Chris from New Wargaming, my best friend Christian, they're all like 6 or 7 years older than me, and somehow I look older than all of them.
It's the kids.
It's I don't know what it is, but it's like I've chosen the wrong cup in Indiana Jones, and it's just sucking the life out of me.
Yeah, no, Steve had no grace before he had kids, and he's like, he had that first kid, and he's just like, overnight I had grays, and now he's just like a grizzled old man.
Maybe it's the boy, because I didn't age this fast when I had just the girl. Maybe it's the boy that's sucking the life out of me. It's entirely possible.
Yeah, probably.
It's just all the property damage I'm consistently fixing.
Yeah, but Steve's shocked by how many women we have in the club, or like, it's sort of, it's a different world now. Like when I date people,
imagine it is. Yeah.
When I date people, I'll tell them like, oh, I like to play Dungeons and Dragons. And people I know that play who are like in their 40s and they're like, Steve's age. They're just like, why would you ever say that? Are you fucking dumb? Like, don't tell a girl you play that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, guess what? Like, they play too.
I play too.
Hey, it's great.
Or board games especially, actually. I think it's funny how pop culture has like normalized that. Like, I think in most recent years, there was that big like D&D push with Stranger Things where D&D became kind of cool all of a sudden because it was a hot Netflix show and people were watching people play D&D. But I think the Big Bang Theory did a bunch for that too. Just watching a bunch of nerds like, in their day-to-day lives, and it just made it sort of like, I don't say normalized it, but it just showed that like people hanging out and doing a thing together is the most normal thing in the world. And just because it's imagining you're an elf, a dwarf, and a wizard going off and having an adventure doesn't make it any different than literally just getting so drunk you can't see and throwing bottle caps into a jar.
Like, yeah, I mean sometimes you do both, and
literally I have done both at the same time, but like. You get experience points when you do the other one. You don't get experience points throwing bottle caps.
Yeah, yeah. No, a big sort of point. Like you could do an entire episode of this on sort of the rise of geek culture.
I would love to do an episode on that because I think that is a discussion that trend. It sort of it transcends just tabletop gaming and is more about like. The world of imagination coming back into like living in your imagination and being social face to face. I think it's actually a counterculture to the digital age. Yeah, where everyone is so detached when they communicate digitally. You've got a counterculture of people all sitting around a table together having a good time, and how that's become like the, I don't say the cool thing to do because I don't know if it's cool, but it's become the thing cool, that's like it's quasi rebellious to not just fucking play Fortnite, you know what I mean, and scream fucking racial obscenities at each other when you're 8 years old over the fucking internet. But to actually sit in front of people.
Speaking from the heart there.
Jesus Christ. It's every once in a while Owen will just send me like a fucking WebM or something like that. That's just hilarious shit he finds online because Owen's my fucking pet millennial and keeps me up to date on what fucking young people are doing. But it's just it's clearly someone who's like balls have not dropped yet. Like has a broken voice and is screaming like the most horrifying shit you've ever heard in your life while playing video games. And I'm like, what are the parents doing when this is happening is my first thought.
Yeah. Like, now that I'm older, I guess, when you experience that, people would just, like, yell back. What I just do now is I just tell them, like, I hope the stock market takes, like, a 3-point hit in a single day, and you just, like, your parents lose their jobs, and they gotta foreclose on the home. Like, it's horrible, but
it gets really fucking dark really fast. Oh my god.
The point is, like, the young kid has no idea what you're talking about, right? But the adults start laughing hysterically because they're like, that's a serious thing, man. Like, I just want the stock market to take a hit. Like, yeah.
That's funny. I just play single player games that don't go online.
That's where I am now,
fucking
too.
Ignore people. I just played through Far Cry 5 and Far Cry New Dawn because I thought they were going to be online games and then realized they were just these giant sandbox games where I got to fuck around like in Montana basically and then in post-apocalyptic Montana, and I was like, oh my god, an old school video game. And I played them for like it was all. So what I do when I'm painting is I reward myself with like an hour of like screen time. I'm like my fucking son. Like I have to like I'll do too much screen time if I don't do some work first. So I'll like paint for 3 hours at night, and then I'll do like an hour of like video games before bed. And that was like my reward for myself. I'm like, I'll paint these 5 models, and then I'll sit down and I'll fucking play Far Cry for like an hour. And that was my thing. But it's hard to find games that are that experience right now, because they're all, so many of them are these like adrenaline highs and lows. And again, I think this does come back to the club thing with like playing people face to face, where I think the world's become very good at monetizing that either ego hit or ego boost of playing like a ranked like online game where you're really good at something, you're really bad at something in like 15-minute intervals, and then you can go and spend money to like get an advantage. You know what I mean? And like there's none of that in tabletop gaming. Like if you come to the club on Thursday night and play some board games, it's a purely social reward. Yeah. Right? You either feel good because you spent good time together, you feel good because you won, you feel good if you lost. Like you might have taught somebody a game, or you feel good because you taught somebody something. It's not this like monetized dopamine injection that you're getting, or like whatever. I don't know what the neurochemical is when you feel bad. Maybe it's just lack of dopamine, like whatever that is. But it's just not it's not that like spike and crash from playing these like online video games. What is your mix, would you say, if you were talking about like the tabletop games in general? What would you say that you predominantly have people playing like on a given night of the week?
So last year was our first year of actually branching out and doing sort of all those fields.
Right. So it's kind of like settling still, probably.
Yeah. I mean, we're only 5 years old now, or 4 years old now.
Yeah.
And
time goes by fast.
I forget how old I am. Yeah. You know, what year is it? But we're in sort of our infancy overall is the reality of it. So I think it's about 45% board games, 45% RPGs, which is historically what we started off when we merged and we became the Tabletop Gaming Club. And then it's about 10% is both miniature war games and card games. But those are set to grow this year because we actually have people in those positions now, and being able to sort of talk about that. Yesterday was Clubs Carnival. So being able to talk about that with people who are showing up at your table, and you're like, well, we're going to do Warhammer. Like, here's some minis we've got. You know?
Have you thought about reaching out to Games Workshop about their school clubs program?
I didn't even know that was a thing, but yeah.
Okay, like welcome to the first day of that. There's literally a contact in Dallas right now. I think they're in Dallas, not in the Memphis office, that you can reach out to if you're a teacher. So if you have a teacher on staff that's your liaison, they'll probably have to submit the request for you. But if you have X number of people, you can get literal like support for your school club program. And I bet they'd be really excited to see a university level one, because I think it's typically geared towards like after school programs for like younger kids, but I don't think they're picky. So like if you could get to like the point where you can be like, I have 178 people, like try Warhammer. Yeah, that's a big in, right? Like,
no, that'd be great.
So yeah, no, I'll when we're done talking here, I'll send you the contact info for them, because I think they kicked it off in North America maybe 6 months. I remember sharing the post because I was really excited about it, and then instantly sending it to my my friend who's an art teacher in Kingston, because he's been doing after school programs for miniature wargaming out of his own pocket forever. James Craig, he's phenomenal. He used to be an outrider for us at Games Workshop. I can never say enough good things about James Craig. James, I love you. And he's an art teacher out east of Toronto, and he now can get some support basically from a company that will provide him with like things to do these programs. So I mean, I'm not promising you anything, but I'm saying there is a program now, and it's certainly the kind of thing I imagine they'd be excited to do, is get involved with a club like yours.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised board games crept up there so fast, because I've noticed over the last couple of years, board game culture in Toronto especially has like exploded. There's a ton of cafes and stuff. There's a ton of like just open space to play them. So while I'm not surprised it's exploded, I'm surprised that it's as many as it is, because there are a lot of options for playing board games in the GTA, but there's not for miniature wargaming. So I would be in agreement that like that's set to explode, because there's only like, I think there's just Sword and Board right now, which used to be Dueling Grounds.
Yes,
that's like the only place you can just kind of open play miniature games.
Yeah, so this is a bigger point that I love to talk about.
Let's do it. Let's talk about it.
As I mentioned, I mentioned before, but my undergraduate is urban studies, which is city planning. So I know all these things, which is like, I'm the nerd that loves to do this. I like to read those boring legal documents.
Crush those numbers.
Yeah. The reality is there's a number of reasons for it, but the truth is it boils down to rental costs. For example, Meeple Mart had issues with theft. That was the reason for them closing it down. At the same time, I highly doubt it was solely the theft. I'm certain that they said when you do the crunching the numbers on this square footage of space, we're losing X amount of money that we could be.
Yeah, what's their
merch.
warehouse too? They run a huge online store. They're like Miniature Market for Canada. So if you've ever been to the Miniature Market retail store, it's basically also a pick face for their web store. So Steve's retail space there is also his warehouse where he's shipping orders out of. So having more square footage to contain more products is just money for him. Like there's no sense in keeping that, empty space without products sitting in it. If he could have more products he could sell.
Yeah, exactly. And 401 Games was the same deal. So they jumped around Yun. They were at Yun in like Wellesley-ish for a while, and they had the upstairs as well, which was their cafe.
Yeah, that was the old
gaming
spot,
space. And like that thing was losing, like they must have been hemorrhaging money on that place, honestly,
really?
For like what the rental cost was. Because the reality is, like, people would show up and just play games there. Like, they wouldn't purchase anything at the cafe, really, or like...
Did they not have any kind of, like, monetization for the gaming space? There's not, like, a sit-down fee?
I don't know. I think to play board games, maybe, but, like, I know that the Toronto Pathfinder Society used to play there, for example.
Right.
And then 401 moved up to North York, which didn't work because they moved back down, and I knew it wasn't going to work.
Right.
Because there's an old saying in Toronto that you don't go past Eglinton.
No.
You never cross Yonge.
Never cross Yonge. That's right.
If you're west of Yonge,
it's
you're west of
It's the land of vampire ghosts. Yeah. There's nothing up there.
East is east and west is west, and they're never going to meet.
They're never going to meet. The Don Valley divides in two cities. If anyone's on the other side of the Don Valley Parkway, it's basically Scarborough. You might just go at Scarborough.
Yeah. The beaches would complain about that, but it's
the
beaches.
The beaches aren't even the beaches. They call it the beach now, not the beaches. There was 7 different beaches. That's why it was called the... Anyway, my dad grew up in the beaches, and that's a big bone of contention for him. It's not the beaches. It's not the beach. It's the beaches.
Yeah, but the... That sort of thing is like they were hemorrhaging money on these places, So 401, when they moved back down, I think they went back into that same place where they were, but they didn't get the upstairs, and like somebody else had already rented it. But I guarantee you, they were happy not to have it again.
Yeah, because it cut out their bottom line.
Because they eliminated that large amount of gaming space. Harry Tarantula finally, they made their exodus from that ancient old place they're at, which is sad because it was
that was an institution. Leon's house / gaming store was an institution.
Yeah, but now they're up at North York and they've got a gaming space. I think they monetize that to an extent. Like I know if you want to play in RPGs, you got to drop $5 or something. And
I think that's fine because you're effectively joining a club at that point. These are those table spaces are almost like members and duties things. And actually, Black Knight Games out in Hamilton does what they call stronghold memberships, which is just their in-store gaming club that helps them to afford to have a gaming space like that. And I think that's something that if more businesses were competent at leveraging that, of having an in-store gaming club that helps them to monetize those spaces and also support people consuming the products they sell, right? The board games, the card games, the miniature games, whatever. You'd probably see less of this decay in shared gaming spaces in major cities. Because I doubt this is a Toronto problem. This has to be a problem in every major city where rents are going up.
Yeah, that's the reality. It's tied to the rental costs. I mean, even the truth is that also for gaming spaces, they're what you would call a small business,
Right.
And Toronto has massive issues where small businesses were being killed by the rental costs to the point where Tory, who's our mayor, John Tory, he even asked city council to remove the what was it? It was to basically help small businesses. But the other issue is in Toronto, you can do the rent rebates. So if you own a space that you can lease, you can ask not to have to pay the property tax or whatever it is on it if you can't rent it out. And that's been a big issue because the truth is people sit on these places, and if nobody wants to pay them what their demand is, they don't, they ask the city oh, I can't rent it out. I'm not able to find somebody. And the city sort of just lets it happen. So that's sort of going through a process of being changed now. But it's things like that. It's just the reality is it's rentals. And so that's sort of why we're so great, because we're located centrally downtown. We play at Oisey, which is actually right above St. George Station. You can enter in through the station.
Oh, that's fantastic. You're right. Because it's funny because we were just talking about that outside when you got here. So few Toronto's a bit like Manhattan without as much cool stuff. So
we got some cool stuff.
We do have some. You used to have cool stuff before it all got built over with condos.
Yeah.
If Murbrishville was still there and all that, I have a very strong opinion about the urban blight of Toronto and condominiums. But the fact is that a lot of people who live in downtown Toronto have never had a driver's license, will never have a driver's license, will live their whole lives on the TTC line. So being accessible, and this is again club note number 35 or whatever here, but having your club situated in a spot that's easy to get to.
Yeah.
Is a pretty key thing, and from a Torontonian's footfall point of view, being right above a train station or a TTC station has got to be fantastic.
Yeah, when I mentioned those other Scarborough and the Mississauga campuses, people from there come to our club because A, we're better, and they've openly stated that, but B, they just subway down to Union and then they go train home, or like they just take the SRT back home depressingly in Scarborough.
The light rail.
Yeah.
The light rail, so the SRT, and just people who can't envision what this looks like, it looks like that train you get to change terminals in Florida when you're going to Disneyland. It's that crappy terminal train that goes from one side to the other if you're going to go see Disneyland in Florida. Awful.
I'm a big transit buff as well. It's actually like the things that I focus on specifically because I got to make that better in that fucking city or else I'm going to kill myself one day. But it has a soft spot in my heart because it's so old school. Like it's like you got to ride it at one point in your life, It
looks like a 1980s version of what the future should look like.
Yeah, it's like taking the Queen car at some point, which like National Geographic has ranked one of the best rides of all time.
Right.
But like you got to ride like those shitty old walk up steps. I worry sadly about the future when I have Spawn, as I call them, and they're going to replace the subways, so it'll be like the new ones where the driver's in the front, and like my kids will be able to sit in the front like everybody did as a kid.
Yeah, actually see the subway car go, or even sit in the rear and see this.
Exactly.
It's funny because there's little things like that you kind of take for granted that you just won't be able to, your kids won't be able to experience, and the city is changing. I think that's something that it feels like 5 years ago was probably a time, like when you, or 4.5 years ago when we kicked this club off, was probably a time right at a tipping point in Toronto.
Yeah.
Where there was the massive explosion in property costs, there was a lack of places to play games, except I think for card games. Because you didn't mention card games really as your part of your mix as much.
We're just starting there. The reality is because stores can do it.
That's what I mean. That seems like the one that well, it's also it's heavily monetized.
Yeah.
Like there is, the card gaming culture is built around things like the draft, the Friday Night Magic, the things where store owners can literally charge money for people sitting and playing games, and it's an accepted part of the culture. So it feels like less of a low-hanging fruit for a club to bring in and have participate.
That cardstock crack is as I call it,
or as Christian calls it, the excuse, was it the thing that'll sell more card sleeves for Big Petroleum.
It's true. They're putting warpstone in the water.
They're putting warpstone in the water. They're getting back to the Info Warhammers. We have to have one moment of Info Warhammers in every episode.
I was going to say we should have done a cold open.
That's what we should have
done.
Where we start putting our tinfoil hats.
Yeah. We're just like, anyway, like that's the electric counts. No.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
But that is sort of a part of it. Like we're starting to do drafts this year, which will be great.
Can you do that? So how does it work for a club? Can you bring in can you get the qualifications that you need for Magic and stuff like that? Because I know there's a bunch of store things that hoop stores have to jump through.
There is. We're trying to get Wizards to just realize that we're trying to help the culture and help them make money. So we're hoping they'll go for it, because when you mentioned that GW does that, I'm shocked because Wizards has sort of been like, no, WotC is like, they're old school.
Yeah.
They really they don't understand how the things work now to an extent.
They want to deal with stores.
These people that like for years said, like they railed against PDFs because they thought they would put books out of business, and like people like books, like I like books, shithead, I got a bunch of Terry Pratchett books. I'm not reading e-readers.
Yeah. Well, they're selling enough D&D books right now that they don't care. Like I think there was a fear. Yeah, but I think that was the same. It was the same it's like the satanic panic for Napster.
Yeah.
And music in the music industry, and now like Spotify and Apple Music and stuff make tons of money. And it's all subscription based for the most part. People aren't buying albums the way to buy albums, but the company, I think it's more consistent income going out there. I'm not saying it's good for the industry. I'm just saying that there was definitely a panic against things like that. And digital, printing digital books is, it's not killed the book industry. I think it's just given them more free money. Because people impulse buy digital products like crazy too.
Costs you $0. Like you put the one time.
There's your initial cost basically for developing the product, but once it's there, it sits there in perpetuity, right? It is the business term for it is that it scales infinitely. It's not I make it, I sell it, I make it, I sell it. It's just I make it, I hang it up digitally, and I sell it forever.
I could talk about this for a long time because I've talked about this with Ed Greenwood, who created the Forgotten Realms.
Right.
And he sort of wonders sometimes if WotC knows what they're doing or not.
Right.
Yeah, but it was sort of good timing. We are looking to do Magic, and we're really hoping that community will actually grow. Because the truth is, we're largely students as our membership, but it's about 10% that are non-students or not U of T affiliates. But that number is set to also change and hopefully increase overall, because I'd like to get the larger community as a whole.
Well, if you're looking to bridge, and card games are an interesting one, and we're going to bring it back to miniature wargaming here for a second, but there's a ton of crossover product right now too. Like if you looked at trying to bridge your current membership into tabletop games, Shadespire, it's a deck building game with a miniature component and a board. Riot Quest from War Machine and Hordes, the same thing. It's like she's sitting in front of us right now. The mat is. It's the same sort of idea. It's never been a better time to bridge those two communities because there's a ton of offerings out there. Actually, we just played Aeronautica Imperialis, which is a fighter combat board game done on a hex map as well. And like, if you're looking for a pitch for a workshop, I think it's definitely, you have these 3 great products right now where we have 178 people that would love to try them. It's those kinds of things, right? Like setting up a whole game of Warhammer is one thing, but Shadespire is literally like a box this big with a complete game in it that bridges that gap between those players and those communities real fast.
Yeah, the point I was saying was that with students, like, they're xenophobic, so the truth is, like, they don't like to leave campus.
Right.
They want to go to, like, their class, they go from their dorm to class, and they go back to their dorm, so we just do it on campus now. We're hoping that people will come in for it, and they're going to pay the draft fee. It looks like it. We got people that are interested, so that'll be it. A big reason I've also been successful is, like, I mentioned Harry Tarantula charges $5 a game. We do $10 for the year.
There you go.
Date of registration, which whenever you register, and then it goes until the end of April, and then you roll over.
Yeah.
And then we do things like we do raffle. You can buy raffle tickets and everything, but that's optional. The initial just fee is $10, and
that gets you in the door to every gaming night for the year, basically. So how often do you guys meet? Let's talk about some more nuts and bolts stuff. How often do you guys meet?
Every Friday on campus, barring a holiday or like university closure or exams. So we're not active for December. We might do the first week. Depends on how exams
Christmas party
fall.
or something like that. Like a special.
Yeah, we do like a non-denominational.
Sorry, I shouldn't say Christmas party. Yeah. Oh my god, that would be the biggest. If I was running it, that would be the biggest gaffe ever. I would have totally shown how old I am, basically. But yeah, like a holiday party.
We did Hogs Watch, which is like a Pratchett reference. Yeah. I like Pratchett a lot.
Terry Pratchett, yep.
So we did that last year, and it was great. And like the problem is that last year we didn't do anything for December. That was late November, and we'll probably do the same again this year because the reality is the next day, Saturday, is when exams start.
Right.
So like. The truth is, like, one of our executives have always had an exam the next day on the first day of exams.
Right.
And I'm just like, man, like, I don't want you to show up. Like, and they're like, I'm not going to. Like, great, we're both on the same page. But then it's other students too, right? I mean, like, U of T is 50,000 students. I think, like, the St. George campus, 50,000. I think as a whole it's 60,000. Like, it's more than, a lot of smaller places that exist in the world. Mm-hmm. Like, it's shocking. And that's the reality. Like, you have all these classes, these exams that you have to then schedule. It's like, we're not going to, deal with the situation.
With that, yeah, of course.
Yeah. But
I mean, you're talking about almost 200 people too. Mm-hmm. Just getting anyone to agree on when we should do this for the biggest proportion of people to make them happy.
Yeah,
not going to make everybody happy.
Yeah, so it's just every Friday we do 6:30 to 11, and it's just like you can show up and play whatever you want. If you want to play Warhammer, sometimes we have people that have like spare stuff. Or what we'll do is we'll like split it up and let people, you can control this section of stuff.
Yeah, you do group games. You do like team games.
Exactly. And then the next week they bring their own stuff or whatever. We had a Mordheim League. We're gonna start that up again soon. Yeah, I mean, like, none of our stuff is competitive. I don't have the time to be competitive. I'm also too old. Like, I'm an old man who like lives in Etobicoke and is happy to live in Etobicoke. Like,
fantastic.
I don't want to deal with people. I want them to stay off my lawn.
Well, and you're also getting people together who typically probably don't know each other, and you're gonna, when you're in a school environment too, and any club environment, if you're gonna have new people coming and going, and for you have this revolving door of people who spend 4 years with you. Right, so it's going to cycle, and I think if you've done 4 years, you've just hit basically your first kind of like, if someone started in first year, they're leaving at the end of this year probably, you'll start to see that start to happen. But over time, that's what's going to happen. You'll have almost like generations of people in the club that will come and go. But it needs to be open for people. So it's funny how doing just a set night a week though, that gives people who are leaving home for the first time or who are joining a new community, and this is all analogous. Like if you move to a new city, and this is my advice to anyone who ever travels and moves to a lot of cities. I've lived in a lot of cities in my life, lived a lot of places, and traveled a lot. The easiest way to make new friends going to a city is just to find a gaming night somewhere.
Yeah.
Like, because you instantly have something in common with a whole bunch of people. It doesn't matter what game it is. Whatever game you're currently excited about, just use Google, use Facebook, find whatever the local group is, and just be like, hey, I'm new to the area. Because you might not like them all, they not be 100% your people, but guaranteed there's going to be one or two people in there that you got something in common with. You got somebody to go drink beer with and do you know what I mean? Like, you got a new friend, basically. Because you've instantly found people who have, like, a similar interest to you?
I'm like super active on the U of T subreddit, and I've told people just come to the club, and other people have told them go to clubs. It's the best way to make friends, to meet people.
It sounds hokey though, to like, especially to young people today.
Yeah,
I guarantee it sounds hokey, but like I think that's a product of our digital environment that young people are growing up in right now, where like that's not how you meet people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's not like you're forced to meet people for whatever the 5 years you're in high school, and then as soon as you get exited from high school, you're like, how do I actually make friends? I didn't just hang out with the people that listen to the same music as me and kind of dress the same as me for 5 years. I don't know how to do this.
a big part that I've like mentioned to people, and other people point out, you wanted to go to the club, especially in a place like Toronto, or if you were in like New York or LA or wherever, because rent isn't cheap. You know, like that's how you make people, like you make friends, you meet people, and you end up renting later. Which like some people in the club have done that.
I've literally experienced that too. Actually, where I've like it's funny because Chris, who was on here last week, he and I. He was actually working at the Games Workshop when I started going to it, and that's how we became roommates. As we had a common interest, and I was like, "Yo, we basically had a apartment with 3 bedrooms, and we lost one of our roommates." And and he mentioned casually at a gaming night he was looking for a new place to live, and I'm like, "Yo, dude, come live with us. We need an extra roommate." And I've got a 20-year friendship out of that now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Same sort of idea where like you have something in common with people, and you're it's almost like you're just fishing in a better pond, you know, of people that have similar interests.
Well, exactly. Like my buddy Jacob, who's the vice president, he just got somebody to rent out his 3rd place because the guy moved out, and it's the guy that knows us from the fucking club. Like,
right.
You know, because otherwise he's renting like Queen East near like Leslie Street, you know, nice place. Jazz festival is great, but it's $3,000 for this, you know, townhouse, like for a 3-bedroom townhouse. So it's like him.
So it's $1,000 a month for 3 people if you're doing a 3-bedroom.
That's including hydro and everything. Like,
okay.
You know, after you do that.
Okay, what? So it's $1,000 a month on a student income, though.
Yeah.
Right. Like.
No, exactly. That's the point. Like, but that's still cheaper. Like, one of our former executives, she was living in Campus One, which I think she's coming back for this year as well. Like she's still there. Campus One's on the southeast corner of College and Spadina, so it's like right next to CAMH. That place is like $2,500 to share a fucking room with somebody.
Jesus
like,
Christ.
You know, and then like UT's laughing because they're making money hand over fist. Like, where are you gonna go, shithead? You know, where are you gonna stay? So
well, you can have the incomplete school experience basically if you don't pay $2,500 a month.
Like what I've always recommended for people that are not from Toronto is to do your first year in the dorms, meet people, like go to clubs,
exactly,
and then get out for the second year.
I was in this for a year, and then I got it in second year and lived off campus.
Because you'll die. I'm going to look in the camera for this too. If you're in a major city, or Toronto specifically, because I love it, the guy's like, you got to be an asshole at times. This poor woman was at the clubs carnival yesterday, and she wanted to like get around our table to cut through. And she's like, awkwardly standing. I'm like, do you just want to go past? She's like, yeah. I'm like, you just got to push. Like, honestly, like you don't ask. Like, you just go. Like when you're walking in the path,
throw some elbows,
I'm
man.
Kind of
just throw some elbows.
Yeah.
It's the path is like so. We're using terminology that only Torontonians understand right now. So first of all, CAMH is the Canadian Mental Health Association.
It's a great place.
The path is in Canadian cities where it's fucking awfully freezing cold and the wind howls down Yonge Street at like 180 miles an hour, literally freezing the tips of your ears off. I've had friends who work in like downtown and get frostbite walking down Yonge Street. They created an underground network for us to survive in, walking around. So you get all of the major like landmarks and all the major office towers. You can walk underground between them basically, and it's called the Path. It stands for something. Who the fuck knows what it is? It stood for something in the 70s. Also, interestingly enough, it all connects to the continuation of government bunker that's underneath the Eaton Center.
Yeah.
There's a government installation vault underneath the Eaton Center that a lot of people don't know about.
There's the Path. You remember like the signage? It's a fucking nightmare. Where like it was based off of the sun. So like I think yellow means east because that's sunrise, and then orange is west.
That's right.
They finally scrapped that shit. They're like, fuck this. This doesn't work.
Path was in 4 colors. It was 4 different letters in 4 colors.
But this is like 40 years after they should have done. They're like, fine, like you know what? We'll fix it now.
I'll be honest. So I'm gonna throw my wife under the bus here, but she lived in Toronto for fucking like I don't know. We lived there until she lived there until 2011. I think she moved there in 2004. I met her in like 2007. She lived there for at least 7 or 8 years. If I gave her directions over the phone, she'd be like, where do I go to meet you at this bar, club, restaurant, whatever? I'd be like, just go west on Yonge for like 12 blocks and you'll see it. And she'd be like, which way's west? And I'll be like, look towards the lake. That's south. Okay, yeah, but which way's west? Nobody knows what compass points are anymore. I just do it from the lake now. Put your back to the lake and then go left.
Yeah.
That's funny. Well, so those are all Torontonian terms you wouldn't get. Which when you said path, you said CAMH. There was something else you said that was very Torontonian. Other people wouldn't have gotten.
The Hogtown bit. I mean, that's
Hogtown's just a nickname for Toronto because there used to be tons of butchers. I can't remember anything else.
We're both getting old. That's what it is. Like,
no. It's just we're both using colloquialisms that not everyone listening to this is going to understand.
I know we're just forgetting what we're talking about.
That's true. We were talking about the path, but it was like throwing elbows in the path is almost like an unspoken law, basically, because it's almost like watching like high speed car races of people like power walking between buildings, and they will like pass, they will cut each other off.
Yeah.
Like, it's madness, and I could see that being in any U of T event. You do have to kind of grow a thick skin in any major city. It's the same in Manhattan. It's the same in LA. Exactly. It's the same anywhere where you have a vibrant downtown where people just walk everywhere. You gotta be ready to throw some elbows and get where you want to go.
The other thing, if you're confused, just don't stand. Like, don't stop all of a sudden. Think of it like you're on the highway. Like, you wouldn't just stop on the highway and stand there. Please don't do that.
Someone was talking about texting and walking being banned in downtown Toronto. Someone's trying to push it right now.
Keys Matt was mentioning that yesterday in tweets. Keys Matt ran for mayor. She didn't win. Tory got reelected. Reality is it doesn't play to the problem. I mean, people know that the drive as a city planner, like from my background, we know that, but people should probably pay more attention because like when I'm on the sidewalk and people are like fucking around,
I wonder if anyone's been killed because I could literally see some person like waiting or like texting and walking, and there's a person like sitting at the edge of like a street, and they just bump into them from behind, just like throw them in front of a streetcar. There's got to be some like texting and walking related deaths out there because people are dumb enough. I think that is just a thing that will eventually happen.
Yeah, I mean,
but I doubt that the numbers are high enough that it requires like a bylaw.
I don't move anymore. Like I'm on the right of the sidewalk. You know, like if you're driving, I'll move for old people or like children. But if you're not an old person or a child, I'm not moving.
This is my sideway spot, man.
I'm just done.
This is my corner. Get off my corner.
I got people like yelling. They're like, "You walked into me." I'm like, "No, like you walked into me, man." Like, you gotta fuck. Anyway, club stuff. Yeah,
club stuff. That's right. Clubs. Fuck
we
Toronto.
Talk about Toronto for hours. Oh, Jesus Christ.
Two people that were clearly born in Toronto talking about Toronto.
Yeah.
It's funny though because we got on this whole sidetrack right here because we're talking about the need for shared spaces in a major city, and I think that this is analogous to any major city, where if the stores aren't doing it, then someone has to. And it's funny because there's a club, I can't remember. It's actually like half club, half store. I don't remember the name of it right now. It's something gaming. And it's in New Jersey. It's basically off island from Manhattan. Mm-hmm. And they've been really successful. And I've seen pictures because a friend of mine goes there all the time. And in the comments, tell me what the name of it is. I'm trying to do a shout out right now, but I have shit memory and I can't remember what it's called.
You guys in Joyzy.
In Joyzy. But it's a gaming club / store, and they have beautiful tables. It's all like hardwood. It looks like a restaurant that was like converted at some point. But it seems to be another case of this popping up where you have a major city where there's not really anywhere to play, right? There's a Manhattan Games Workshop store on 8th Street in Greenwich Village, but there's not really any other place where you can like play a game. And this sort of like this like push to create a shared space where people can do so. And I'm hoping that becomes popular and catches on because the biggest thing holding back clubs is good quality organized people. You need to have the right people willing to put forward the time and the effort to get it started and kicked off. And then you have to have a real solid plan, like we talked about at the very beginning of this, for how that club is going to survive those people maybe having to leave and not be involved anymore. Getting busy, whatever happens. If it's, in your case, where it's a school and they leave, or if it's just life happens. You move away, your job transfers you, whatever, that thing to survive. Because they add so much to a local community. It doesn't matter what it's for. It could be for anything tabletop. But it's anytime you need to get people together into one space to commonly do an activity. They add so much to like the potential for enjoyment for those games. You're not just playing it with an insular group in a basement, which there's nothing wrong with. That is where tabletop gaming started. That was where tabletop will survive the nuclear winter of whatever the next fad is. Yeah. But I think that a good gaming club, it's such a positive thing, not just for your enjoyment of the game, for getting to do it more often on a consistent basis, but just for like a community, to introduce people to a community. And it's funny because speaking of CAMH, I know that club culture in general, things like the DMs Guild for D&D, has been put forward as having this hugely positive input or influence on young people and old people of all ages who are interested in gaming, and just allowing them avenues to express themselves, feel comfortable, be in a social environment. And the same thing with the club programs and after school programs in tabletop stuff. Things like having to commit to finishing a project. So these Warhammer clubs they do in the UK, just teaching a kid that they can do it. You know, you can start something that looks hard at the beginning and get through to the end and have a good result that you didn't think you could do, has like such a positive like life skills lesson on people. And I really hope that, I mean, it's almost like because of a crisis, because of things like major cities and their property values and not having to have a major space costing an arm and a leg, these are like a byproduct of that kind of like crisis. But the net good that they do is so high. I hope more people, maybe people listening to this podcast who are thinking about starting a club, think about doing the research as to what it's going to take to make it a reality.
It's not hard. The truth is, it was 3 guys that wanted to book a room to play D&D. You know,
well, that's how it started. But you did do a lot of work after that to keep it going.
I mean, if you want to just start off, like, you can do it as you progress. You know, I think a lot of the time in life, people think it's an all-in. Like, when you talk about Warhammer, is sort of a great example. They think, like, well, I have to build an entire army. Like, no, man, you can just buy like one mini. Like,
Eating an elephant. Yeah, it's one bite at a time.
Yeah, and you can just start out, like, do it small, you know. The truth is, you do want to do preliminary research, like, figure out budgeting. That's a big deal, because the truth is, you have to charge money for your club. I'm a big believer that clubs should always charge a fee. The truth is, it allows you to do programming, it allows you to do things, because otherwise it's going to be all of you sitting around. You know, you're like, yeah, we can just game, but the problem is, like, then you don't actually have sort of a community. Like, it's a sort of, I drop in, I play my games, and I leave mindset.
There's a commitment level thing to when you've paid for something, you feel like you need to get value out of it then too, and that makes people more committed. They show up, they actually contribute to that sort of like collective good of that gaming club if they have to pay a fee. I see it as less of a barrier and more as an incentive to keep people, like, because if it is a barrier, if they don't see the value in it, it might not be a barrier forever, and it might be that person doesn't buy into the club now, comes back 6 months later and sees how well it's doing and goes, oh, well, now I'll throw my $10 in.
Yeah.
But the people that do commit early on, they feel like they need to keep going now because they've spent some money on it.
Yeah, I mean, we've had a couple people that have said, like, you know, I know, $10. And because we're sort of grouchy, as well as like the fact that Steve was there when the club was created, and he'll show up at events. Like, he showed up yesterday at Club's Carnival after work, and he's like, you know, when I was back in McMaster in 1999, or no, 96 or whatever, like, the fee was $10. Like, you know, like 24 years ago, basically. So, like, you know, with inflation, we've done the numbers, like, we've done the inflation numbers. And we're just like, yeah, we should be charging you like more than that, but $10 works. Like, you know, we also have funding from elsewhere. The reality is, like, the student union, you know, provides funding for clubs, which is great.
Right. Yeah.
We do other things to increase revenue. Basically. Yeah, but that's basically it. Like, $10 is not a lot. You just got to figure out the number overall. Like, if you can do it, like Hogtown does $20 for the year.
Yep.
Like, you just have to find out what it is, but that allows you to actually do your events, you know. It also means a lot, too, truthfully, when you approach businesses and they go like, well, you're a club, like, yeah, you can promote stuff for us. If you go, look, like, we have like 178 people and they pay membership fees, you know, like $10 a year, that's $17,000, like $700, like, it's, you know, and they're like, oh shit, like, they're actually willing to drop money on this. They're gonna be willing to drop money on our product. Fine, we'll you know, we'll figure something out.
Yeah, exactly. We got $2,000 to invest in new board games.
Yeah.
What new board games should I bring in? And it's funny because you can do all kinds of stuff with that money that it like literally improves the quality of life of the people in the club. And when you're running a club that is not being provided free space, obviously a big of that part of that can go into getting a space. Now, is it going to be $10 a month when you don't have a free space? Probably not. But at the same time, if it is, you know, possible to get a relatively affordable space, like let's say on average $1,000 a month for, I don't know, 500 square feet, or enough for 10 or 20 people can sit in it, you're not looking at that much, you know, monthly per person. And if that's $1,000 a month, including like insurance and your property and stuff like that, you're really looking at 20 people with $50 a month.
Yeah,
it's not terrible. It's not a terrible investment. If you have a gym membership, you know, for a high quality gym, it might be $50 a month. And how often do you go? So it really comes down to how often do you use this space that is providing you enjoyment. If I'm spending $10 or, you know, it's maybe say $15 a week and I'm getting my money's worth, and I'm happy, right? And so I think that you've got opportunities there with your money, especially to do other things that provide enjoyment, like buying a couch, buying folding chair. You know what I mean? Like, you get all that stuff for free as provided, but in your case, it could be, let's do this. Hey, let's have a vote. Does anyone want to back this giant board game Kickstarter for $100?
We've done several of those. Like we're waiting on. We recently got Bones 4. I'm waiting for when Bones is going to do their Bones Black Reaper's.
Oh my god! If you do a D&D, doing a Bones Kickstarter, what do you get? Like 1,000 miniatures every time one of those things happens?
Yeah, I mean, like this is something sort of that you asked earlier. Like, we don't just do board games. Like, we actually are starting to build up an RPG library. So, like, you can just rent out the things for free. If you remember, $10. Like, you have to buy the fucking things, rent them. Rent the board games for us for free. We also rent the stuff out to non-members, and it's a revenue income for us.
Revenue stream, yeah.
Which is nice, but...
D&D has so many great assets for that now, too, because you can get you can get the terrain kits that are all, like, the heavy cardstock terrain kits, and then Bones miniatures. You have, like, every D&D... option for a DM. They're like ready to rock and roll, basically.
We've got a bunch of miniatures now, and it's just the storage thing. Like, they're sitting on my dresser as well at home.
Do you have them all in Ziploc bags? Like, this is all goblins. This is all gnolls.
No, I haven't stored them. So I've got it still in the box, but I've got, like, we bought them used off one of our members, so they're just in, like, giant Tupperware things. Like,
you should. There's we are going to sort them. It's the very useful boxes. They have those, like, nesting boxes and stuff, and just, like, Sharpie labels on them, like the big box of goblins, the big box of orcs.
That's what we're going to do, and but that'll be there for, like, GMs who want to run a D&D game for us.
Absolutely, yeah.
And it's just like, well, what do you need? Let us know in advance, and we'll get them for you. You know,
what a great club asset. I mean, and that's the kind of things that clubs can provide. Not one GM and one person can't own all that stuff.
I wouldn't schlep it down to campus.
You know what I mean? But if it's already sitting there ready to rock and roll at campus, like, you're good to go. And when you have that, obviously we talked earlier about the fact that space is not finished. When you have a fixed finished space, you can literally have like a cabinet of, this is the box of many things. You know what I mean? This is where we go and grab all the miniatures.
I have to look at the legalities of certain things. They're like 1.5 stories each level.
Right. So
what I'm trying to get them to do for those offices is make them lofts up above, so I can just, like, do the attic pull down and then just climb up and go my storage up there. Because we're going to run out. Like, we're working on making terrain in the future once we can actually store it. We're going to have, like, some house war bands, or probably maybe like a club army, basically.
Right.
Just as people
the two-player starter sets, like the Conquest ones, where you have the two-player starter set, and you just paint it all, and it's there if people want to try the game.
Yeah. So, but that's going to be it. Like, and then the reality is, if we haven't found it, that we don't use those things, we'll raffle it off. You know.
Yeah, just turn an income. Yeah, absolutely. And then bring in the next thing with it. You could sell a painted, 40K army and do like 2 board game Kickstarters or another miniature game Kickstarter or whatever.
Yeah, like we're gonna buy that. You can look it up. It's McLeod Drakkar or whatever. It's like the Reaper Tiamat, like the 5-headed dragon thing.
Oh yeah. The giant model.
Yeah, we're gonna paint that up eventually. Like, we're gonna person paint it up, but we just want it for like the table piece, like for events or whatever, and just to be able to go like, oh hey, boom, like people are like, holy shit, a dragon. Like
club mascot.
Like, yeah. Well, I mean, our club it's a dragon.
The dragon's a mascot, yeah.
Yeah, I prefer blue because they're lawful evil, but we got green.
Like me,
lawful neutral. like me,
like me, lawful evil.
I didn't say that.
I mean, we all knew. We all knew I was lawful evil. Let's not kid around.
It's the best alignment,
Is it? Yeah.
I think so.
Because I exploit the laws to get the things that I want to do.
Look, Vader, was he really a bad guy? Like, the rebels blew up the Death Star. People were just working there. Like,
it's true. There was lots of janitors that died too. That's it, man. Yeah. Those rebels, those guys are terrorists.
Keep in mind, like, the Empire was just conscription based as well. Like, that's like some like 19-year-old kid from like Tatooine who's got nothing fucking going on in his life, and you blew him up too.
He could just as easily have been a stormtrooper. You got Luke the Stormtrooper, but he got radicalized by that Obi-Wan Kenobi.
I'm going to say the big takeaway for Vader is that if people are giving you shit, strangling a guy to death gets fucking results.
You're not wrong. Because he was quick to discipline.
Choking the first guy, and then what's his name? Ozzel, when Ozzel fails him in Empire, and he's just like, you failed me for the last time. Who didn't fuck up? Piet. Piet had his shit together. He showed up in Jedi.
He saw what happened. He made it through 2 movies. That's it. Exactly.
Until one of those radicals drove their car through the front of his window.
That's right. Yeah. To the front of his like big AT-AT. His bay windows with AT-AT. Oh no, that's right. It was in the ship. It came through the ship. The A-wing came through at the end.
Yeah.
Wow, we're deep mining right now for references. I like it.
That's it. But yeah, I guess there's a lot of work involved in clubs overall. You have to be able to put the time.
What do you get out of it? Like, what do you? So personally, like, so you're a guy who has taken the initiative to gather a bunch of people together and and do a thing and give them a space to do a thing and have a good time. You're kind of like the geekdom equivalent of the guy that he threw the house party every weekend in high school. So like, what is the personal satisfaction that you get out of doing this? Obviously, this does feed into what you're interested in school and a lot of like the social mechanics of like what you're doing. But what do you find the most gratifying thing about having successfully done this at this point?
I'm a workaholic. For years, I'm just addicted to workahol. It's been bad. It's a Norm Macdonald joke.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah,
good.
That was the Homer Simpson versus the Rage Hall one.
Yeah, but yeah, I like fixing problems. It's a big reason why I'm into politics to an extent as well. Like Toronto has a lot of issues with its urban planning, and I'd like to actually get into a position where I can fix them in the future.
Right.
And it's sort of the same thing. Like we don't have that community. You know, it's. I've said it before a lot of times. I think it's abysmal to be the top university in the country, for example, in the best city in the country, I'd argue. I think people would have to fight me on it. But like you're in the largest city, like where 3 million in the city itself, 6 million in the immediate GTA, 12 million in all of Ontario. It's like 10 million in Southern Ontario. Like, you know, we don't have a fucking club in the city. Like it's a travesty, you know, that shit shouldn't be existing. Like
there should be a place where people can get together and play fucking games.
Exactly. It shouldn't be this hard.
And there's only one retail space currently doing it.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's others for various tabletop things, but like one where like there's a melange of like cards and tabletop games, board games, and miniature games.
Yeah, and that's sort of what it is. I enjoy doing it. Like people, I guess a lot of students when they show up, they're young, you know, they're like 17, 18. They don't really know how things work. Clearly, I mean, they're in their youth. People seem to think I'm paid to do it. Like I'm not paid. You know, I get paid in alcohol and food purchases sometimes because I have a budget line for executive expenses.
Right.
And I crunched the numbers on this, and I said, like, you know, you give up every Friday, basically, if you're going to show up, which I show up almost every Friday. And yeah, like, so you give that up, so it's like 5 hours there, but you got to do like prep events like 6. Like, I put in more time than everybody else, but everybody else is like 5 hours in, so 20 hours a month. And then we do our monthly meeting as well during the school year when we're like more active. So like 22 hours a month. And after the meeting, like I'll order a pizza for us and like we'll buy drinks.
Drink it. Yeah,
so it's like you got like 2 slices of pizza and a pint for giving me 22 hours of your life. Like we're not profiting off of this, so we all enjoy growing the club. Like the way that it works as well, we are sort of we're like the Empire. Like we have regional directors or my vice presidents. They run their own branches and departments, and I don't step on their toes because frankly I don't play Magic. Jordan will know better what to do.
You need to have people that you can trust that are subject matter experts on the things that you don't know about.
That's a big part about it. But I just let them do it, you know, and like they enjoy being able to do it, and they like growing the club overall. So that's where I get my personal satisfaction, is like fixing issues. In monetary aspects, I get everybody's soul. They don't ever read the fine print when they sign the membership agreement. None of them are looking that over. You know,
you're at the byline in for sole ownership when it was all said and done.
It's $10 a year, and I get the soul,
and I get your soul.
I'm getting paid. You know,
in the metaphysical, it's perfect.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's great, and there's like a need basically that existed 5 years ago in Toronto that club is at least for the students that go to U of T. Now, did you do outside membership? Can people join?
Yeah, we don't care.
That's great.
We don't care at all.
I wish I knew that. Because I didn't know that was actually a thing, that you could be part of a U of T club from outside. Is it a guest fee, or is it like...
So it varies from club to club, actually. Some clubs can bar it. We don't care. We want people to play games. I think it would be against like my nature to exclude people. Barring obviously, if it's like an issue where somebody's like an 8-year-old yelling racial settings.
Yeah.
But yeah, we
don't
care.
Fortnite players just invade in real life, in real time.
I just want people to have fun, you know? So, like, anybody's able to come in, you know, you pay the $10, we'll let you book rooms. Because the reality is, like, when you look at Toronto, like, you want your 5 buddies, you know, and you to play D&D, $60 for the entire year. Like, you're not even going to get that for an hour if you,
absolutely, if you want a shared D&D space. Well, so there you go. Big shout out right now. I'll probably put your contact info, or at least, like, you have a this is our Facebook group?
We got a Facebook group. We got to get a website done. But
so we'll do a link to the Facebook groups then in the description for this, and also in the description for the RSS feed on SoundCloud and stuff, and on Spotify. So if you're in Toronto and you're looking for a club to join, or if you're like a DM looking to run an adventure, you're looking for a shared space, this sounds, for $10 a year, sounds like a pretty great option for having just a place you can sit and play games.
I mean, you're able to attend a couple events as well to see if it's a good fit for you before we ask that you register. And if you're from out of town, but like you're coming to Toronto, just show up. Like, we're not going to ask you to give us $10 to show up, like, you know, once or twice a year. Yeah. So like, just show up, have fun. Like, we've had people that have messaged me from like the UK because I like posted in the Mordheim Facebook groups, and they're like, "Hey man, like I'm coming in,
Can we play
like
some
I'm gonna
Mordheim?
fly." And I'm like, "Sure, like just let us know in
Come by.
advance, and like
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
we'll make sure I'll get the Levine brothers to show up." Shout out to Adam and Brandon. Thank you so goddamn much for coming to our club. We love you guys,
That's great. No, that's fantastic, and hopefully this I don't want to say outlives you, but like
Oh, I intend to live forever.
Well, with this
those
soul
souls.
tithe, the soul tithe you're
That's
collecting,
right.
you're going to live forever. But I just mean outlive your being at U of T and
Mm-hmm.
your being able to be in this full time, and then you find someone to succeed you in like the day to days and stuff when you move on basically from somewhere else.
Yeah.
And if you ever plan to give up those reins, I don't know what the future holds, but
eventually
I do
I
know
will.
that.
I mean, like,
well,
when I-
gaming clubs die.
Yeah.
When the person who is the motivator, who's the center of them, leaves, and you have to have some idea of who that person's going to take up the mantle.
I got to train a protege,
That's it. You
Gotta
need,
get
you
a
need a mini me.
Padawan.
You need a mini me. You need a Padawan. That's right. Yeah.
a mini me.
Well, you just need someone. You need. I think, and this is to insert myself into this. You need to have a person that is as emotionally invested in the success of it as you are.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, the amount of effort and time and energy you put into something is directly proportional to how much you care about it emotionally, your emotional attachment, whether or not you are willing to let it fail. And finding someone that has hopefully the same, or at least enough of that same ownership over something is the reason why something like this will succeed or not succeed.
Yeah.
And that to me is very true of basically any business endeavor, life endeavor, whatever it's going to be. But if it's hard and it's work at some points, you need someone who can push through that because they emotionally are unwilling to let it fail and not succeed. And I would hazard to say that a big part of the success that I've had in my career, and obviously with GMG and all the things that I do, is directly proportional to the fact that I just don't accept the idea that it won't work. I'll just keep doing it until it does.
Yeah.
And so,
You
I
hammer
do- I
hard
do
enough, and
understand.
that square peg will become a round one.
Dude, I can make anything into a nail.
Yeah.
I'm the classic example of a hammer. To a hammer, everything looks like a nail. But to kind of like, I guess, round off this conversation, if you are looking at building a club out there, there are tons of great resources available for free online. And lots of, like you said, boilerplate stuff too for like doing drafting a club constitution. Lots of people you can talk to. There's even books on doing
I
it.
think the student life club constitution's available online.
Oh, that'd be great.
So like you can just look at that and you can cannibalize it like
Because it's not all going to relate to doing a non-student
Yeah.
unionized one, but a lot of it will. Like just things you don't think about. Like what happens if someone just starts behaving completely inappropriately at the table? Like there's going to be
Exactly.
provisos for that in there.
we have a code of conduct that we put in. Our solicitor looked it over to make sure it was legally sound. It's
Right.
a legally binding contract, and it gives us the ability to remove a member.
To take people out,
if they're a
yeah.
problem. We haven't had to use it yet, which has been great.
That's impressive. In 4 years you haven't had to use it because I
We've
trust.
had, it goes before a tribunal. We had that
Right.
happen once, and that person just stopped returning. So like
Right.
it worked out for the best.
Right. They just vetoed themselves out.
But you have to have, like before we end this, I'll do like a quick off of like things I'd recommend. But that constitution, I'm using that like I'm unionizing my apartment building because I don't want to get evicted because rental prices are fucked. But like it works, like just
Right.
cannibalizing part of it, just like taking out what I don't need. But things about like working on a constitution for my tenants association, I'm doing that too. But
Yeah.
I'm the guy that likes these things.
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, let's do it. Let's do your hit list then. What's your
Okay.
top list of things that you would give as advice to anyone who wants to start a club?
Yeah, one, you need structure. If you're going to do it, you have to have a constitution, get the treasurer, like you mentioned, have an actual elected official, hold elections. We actually retain a CRO that we pay. It's a minimum wage gig, but like, it's $14, so like $15 an hour, 14 hours a year, $210 is what we ballpark it in for our budget. And we do have them like they deal with everything related to elections, and we have that laid out in our constitution. But you want to have structure. You want it to be not an academic, a democratic, open process. You want everything to be as transparent as possible because you don't want people to think that you're just stealing money from the treasury. Everything should be open. We do the AGM where we talk about the finances and everything. You got to do stuff like that. So have structure, have people that are professional and want to be committed. And that sort of leads in the second way is like having people that will commit to the role. If you don't commit, the club will fail. It'll fall apart because the truth is somebody will just say, I just kind of do it. You have to commit to the role and be willing to put your time into it. But once you've put your time into it, it'll start to become self-sustaining. People will show up and you'll be fine.
Momentum. Yeah, build momentum.
Yeah.
Because it seems silly when the club is 3 people to have
Yeah.
all these rules and regulations and stuff. But when it starts to gain momentum and there's like 100 people,
Yeah.
you need that stuff.
Yeah. do the budgeting. That's a big deal because that will decide what you can do in terms of programming, and leading from that, go into programming. You can do just game nights by, like, we do once a month a special, and we do like a raffle and everything, and I highly recommend you do at least that, because then people are going to be incentivized to show up for that specific event at least, and then they'll start to show up on the other nights as well. And I guess the point is, you have to be prepared to leave, because the truth is, like, I'll probably have spawn down the line. You know, if I
he's gonna put those souls in.
I got to find a dread queen. You know,
he's gonna build homunculi to put the souls into, so that they come to life and serve him later.
Yeah. But be prepared to leave, because the truth is, you're going to eventually have something come up. You know, it'll happen in life. Whatever does happen will happen. Yeah, I sound like a fucking new age guru. But when it happens, you're going to have to take a step back, and you want somebody that can actually take the reins, or else it will probably fail. But once you have that lined up, like, you've got all the structure in place, you know, it works. The reality is, people nowadays, something that I always think, they say that universities are very liberal, and I think they're actually conservative based off how they function. Like, they're, you know, decades and decades of how they've worked. Like with Oxford, it's hundreds of years. Oxford isn't exactly super liberal.
I think what you have is you have a conservative structure with liberal people. It's square pegs around holes.
Yeah,
you have different people moving through it, but it's a conservative institution for sure.
Yeah, but once you have that structure in place, like, it becomes self-sustaining. The issue will be, you know, who's going to really take over. And you could even share that position as well. Like, if you want to take a step back and your buddy's going to, you know, take the reins for a while, and then, you know, you're going to, like, co-host it, that works. You just have to know what you're doing. And you got to commit. You can't. I have a big belief that you should never half-ass something in life. Whole-ass something. And it's better to just not do the other thing if you're going to half-ass both. It's just sloppy. It looks like shit. And the truth is, no one's going to appreciate you for it. You'll be remembered as that asshole who half-ass things. Whole-ass it. Whole ass
everything.
Yeah.
Well, that's great advice. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this. This was a great look at a club that's really booming in my hometown, and I hope continues to do so, because I'm really excited to hear that it's open membership as well, because I think that's a big asset in a city where you need more reason for people to get together face to face and do things. I think in this modern world that we have, and having a venue for that's really important. So big thanks for you coming in and chatting with us.
Last minute. Check out our social coming up Autumn 13th, Friday.
Autumn 13th. Is that a month only in Toronto?
You know what?
That is not a Toronto colloquialism. Is it September?
No, September 13th. Okay, this autumn. It's our autumn social. That's what it is. Last year we had
I like that you cut it with the promo and then just totally shit the bed halfway through, and now we're going to talk about that for a second. So just keep going.
Edit that back.
No, fuck no. That's staying in.
My face is going to be blurred for this too, right? That's staying in. Yeah.
So sorry. The autumn social is September 13th.
September 13th. 2019. Yeah. Last year we had 200 people in attendance. We're hoping for more. Like, we booked off the entire 8th floor of Voisey. It's going to be a great time. You know, we don't do an entry fee for that event. Like, we're gonna have like raffles, so you can like get in. We're doing like $300+ in merch of just like random shit you can get. Like, you get to pick what you want, and the last guy gets stuck with the last thing. But you know, it's a good time. It's a great way to meet people. People have just shown up to make like connections, to then just play in their private games. We don't care. We just want you to come on out and have a good time.
That's great.
And it's a good event.
That sounds like a great way to engage with the tabletop community in general in Toronto. So if you're new to the city, this is fall. I know I don't know if there's a bunch of first-year students or new emigres to Toronto that are coming from hometowns and looking for people to meet. But this sounds like a great way to engage the tabletop community locally. So yeah, they get good on you, and hopefully we'll have you back for another discussion. We can talk about, what was it we came up with? There was something we wanted to talk about.
Man, there's like a million things. We could just talk about Toronto. We can talk about
no, there was something about gaming where I was talking about the social benefits. I can't remember what it was.
Yeah.
Was it that one? That was one of them.
Part of it. I mean, like, issues within the industry of them not sort of like moving with the times.
That too.
There's like a million things we could talk about.
Yeah, hopefully you'll be able to come back relatively soon, and we can do another one of these. So big thanks for coming in. Big thanks to you guys for watching and tuning in and listening to the podcast. We'll see you next time for one of these. Till then, I'm Ash.
I'm Spencer.